Hello everybody, this is Ian, and this is my very first Doctor Who review, and today I thought I would start off with story 54, Inferno. It's one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes of all time, and definitely my favorite Jon Pertwee episode that I have seen. So to start off, let me just say that, give a disclaimer that if you haven't seen the episode, then you should watch it, unless you want some spoilers, because you're gonna have some. Because I'm going to give a full review, so just be aware that there will be spoilers. So, Inferno is a 7-part story, which features Jon Pertwee as the Doctor, and his companions, Liz Shaw, and Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. So the whole premise of this story is that there is some company led by this guy named Professor Stallman, who's in charge of this drilling operation to penetrate the Earth's crust and reach the core, so that they can mine the gas from under the surface of the Earth to be used as energy. But now, meanwhile, because the Doctor he's part of this project, and since at the end of the War Games, he got his right to travel throughout time and space removed by the other Time Lords, so his TARDIS can't really travel that much. So, as he's working on this project, he directs some of this nuclear power to his TARDIS and ends up getting transported to an alternate dimension where everyone is kind of gone the bad way, like the Brigadier on the cover. Doesn't have a mustache and has an eye patch, and he's kind of like the evil dictator person who's in charge of defending the operation. Liz Shaw is kind of the same as the Brigadier, and they think the Doctor's a saboteur. But meanwhile, back in the real world, or the ordinary world that the Doctor's from originally, there's this, in the drilling process, there's this really strange green liquid that's kind of originating from one of the outlet pipes. And there's this repairman who comes in named Harry Slocum, and he touches it. And before you know it, he's turned into what you see very front on the cover there. Well, actually, that's not him, but there are 3 main people that look like that, and he's one of them. And he basically goes crazy and starts killing people before he gets killed. But he manages to infect 2 other people, and one of them's the dude on the cover. And so basically, back in the alternate world, the drilling company has penetrated the Earth, and it basically destroys the world. And so the Doctor gets back to the ordinary world and has everyone stop the drilling before it happens there. And they managed to do that after the death of Professor Stallman, after he turned into one of those things they're called Primords, is what it's called in the credits. I don't really remember. But yeah, just to start off, I absolutely love the cover art on this DVD. It's just awesome. And the name, I just love the way it's done, with like the fire in the back, and then there's kind of like a little blaze, like a rift kind of right behind the Primord, which really looks awesome. And another thing about this is that the acting was very, very good in this episode. It was funny, like the line where the Doctor comes at the Professor Stallman and says, "You know, Professor, there's something that should be of vital importance that I need to tell you. that you, sir, are a nitwit, which is very funny. There are some very humorous moments, but then there are also some very dark scenes, like the scene where the alternate Sergeant Bennett comes into the room and is like totally annihilated by the Primords. It's very, very scary, even. And even though, since this was like 1971, the villains are a bit cheesy. If you look past the fake teeth, the fake vampire teeth, and the makeup, it's actually, if you just think about it, it's actually pretty scary. And it's also interesting that their weakness is the fire extinguisher, which kind of makes sense, because since it's kind of like a parasite almost that kind of transforms your body into these really big, hairy Neanderthal creatures. But they need heat to live. It's very interesting, just the way that all of it was done. And I especially like how the Brigadier and Liz Shaw, Nicholas Courtney, he plays the Brigadier, and I forget the person who plays Liz Shaw, but whoever plays Liz Shaw did a very good job playing as both their evil selves and their good selves. And I especially I found myself liking every character. Like, you kind of became attached to some of the characters, which in some episodes it's not done as well, but in this episode it was done very well. Especially with like people like Greg Sutton and Sir Keith Gold. I especially really like those two characters. And it was also nice to see. It was a nice parallel dimension. It was done very well. The transitions were easy between the real world and this dimension. And one thing that stood out at me was at the very end, in part 6, I think it was, whenever they went outside, because, like, the world is heating up and it's going to disintegrate, they did, this kind of heat wave-ish, like, thing on the outside. Like, on the inside, it's normal camera, but on the outside, it's, up to this point, I hadn't really seen a ton of just kind of subtle visual effects that made it more realistic. And it was a very good episode for someone who had just started being the Doctor, I think, 4 episodes ago. As it is story 54, and the War Games is story 50, when Patrick Troughton regenerated into Jon Pertwee. And another thing, it was a 7-part episode, but it didn't feel like 7 parts. It was very engaging, and I found myself, I watched it straight, all 7 parts straight, like no delay. And it was an absolutely marvelous episode, and I absolutely loved it. Just all in all, I can't really think of many criticisms for it, if any. It was just a very solid episode. It was there were some twists, and I especially liked the scenes. They had some very cool scenes. Like, I like the scene where the Doctor was escaping the soldiers in the alternate world who were all shooting at him. And I love the scene where the Doctor uses the fire extinguisher on the dude on the cover, the Primord technician, near the beginning of the alternate dimension. I just think that scene looks very cool. And just all in all, I would definitely recommend this episode to anyone looking for a good Jon Pertwee story, or a good classic story, or just a good story in general. It was good. And so overall, I would give the story a 9 out of 10.